have banned Islam4UK?
Should the government have banned Islam4UK? Chris Huhne.
Well, I think Islam4UK was a very vile organisation. I completely disagree with its views. I think that Mr. Chowdhury, the leading spokesman for this organisation, absolutely was attempting to provoke the vast majority of people in this country by trying to organise a march through Wootton Bassett. He hit all the most difficult nerves precisely because he wants publicity and he's very adept at getting it. And I don't think that we should have played into his hands by banning this organisation. It gave him yet another day on prime-time news. The organisation will no doubt, as it has already on 3 occasions, merely re-emerge under another name. And I think that we need to be a bit more relaxed about ignoring this guy's opinions and not getting head up about them. Frankly, he has a track record of threatening demonstrations, which he did with Wootton Bassett. I didn't personally think he was ever likely to go ahead, and indeed before the banning was announced by the Home Secretary, he had already declared that he was not going to do so. And if he were to do so, I think what we would see is a tiny handful of people going out with him, which would completely undermine his case and the case for him saying that he stands for any serious opinion within any community in this country. So I think we must not overreact, because that's exactly what Mr. Chowdhury and Islam4UK, or whatever it is going to be called next week or the week after, is likely to want us to do.
OK.
Well, I agree with that, and I think it's a shame we're giving this group and this man, Chowdhury, I probably shouldn't say his name because I don't want to get him to get publicity. Next thing you know, he'll be on Question Time.
I wouldn't bank on it, but you
well, you had the BNP on, didn't you?
Well, yeah, that's what I suddenly meant. So I think that, first of all, a very important point has to be made, that just by their tiny number, we know that they're not representative of the majority of Muslims in Britain, nor the anti-war lobby. They are, for want of a better word, a load of nut jobs that we should have a media blackout against, really. Let's just leave it.
Peter Hain, is it effective to ban Islam4UK? They've already had 2 other names before that, and presumably they have another name or 2.
I think actually they're in their 4th incarnation, and a number of their members have been convicted of terrorist offences. And it was not done lightly. It was done because, for that very reason, that they simply, amoeba-like, changed their form, but actually it's the same people, many of whom have criminal convictions. And that was the reason. It was not done lightly. It was not done quickly.
It was done just before Wootton Bassett, wasn't it, because of that?
Well, it was not just... No, it was not just done because of that. They
existed for over a year.
Yes, and the Home Secretary has been criticised for taking too long to do it. It's precisely because he followed due process and he said, look, these people contain members who are actually inciting jihad against the rest of the population, and just like it's wrong to incite murder or to incite arson in a theatre like this, or to incite racial hatred or racial murder, it's also wrong to prosecute that kind of murderous activity.
Well, prosecute the people. If anybody incites violence in this country, if anybody incites racial hatred, that is against the law, and they should be prosecuted.
And they have been.
What on earth? What on earth is the point? What on earth is the point of banning an organisation and just giving them more publicity?
We've heard from you, Chris, already on this point.
Rather than ban Islam4UK, why doesn't the government remove the benefits of Mr. Chowdhury?
Well, all right, Chris Hain, you take that... Peter Hain, will you take that as a supplementary? He gets over 25 grand in benefits. Should he?
Well, if he's actually complying, you know, and he's not committing fraud, and no doubt that'll be investigated. Well, if he's a British resident and he's entitled to those benefits, then he's entitled to those benefits. But if he's committing fraud, then those benefits will be taken away from him.
Calvin Mackenzie.
Well, on the benefit issue, doesn't it seem bizarre? Now, look, I don't know Mr. Chowdhury. He may be an intelligent guy. Perhaps he could have sat in that Labour cabinet which decided to send us to war, I don't know. But he... what is absolutely bizarre is he can talk eloquently on television. He seems to be available for television interviews, left, right and centre. But what he doesn't seem to be available is for something that we all do, which is go to work, right? Why don't... To me, it is an absolute insult to see this guy clearly just cocking a snook at our system and hating it at the same time, taking like that and punching us like that. And I would very much like to see him down at Job Centre Plus facing a serious investigation into how he's able to get £500 a week tax-free off people who work hard in this country.
He was on the Daily Politics earlier, and he more or less implied that he was going to start a new group. Is there not a way of stopping these people from forming groups like this?
Ken Clarke, you were Home Secretary.
Well,
what would you have done? What do you think? What do you think Alan Johnson was right to do what he did?
I actually think Alan Johnson, it was a close call. I think I probably would have done what Alan Johnson did in the end, but I think you've got to be very careful. I do believe in free speech. And I think in the last 10, 12 years, because we're so frightened of terrorism, we've got very, very near taking away all kinds of precautions. Of course we're not a totalitarian state, but the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and you must stop going down that path. So, you know, you've got to be very careful before you go into these things. But in fact, he has a history. He has praised the 9/11 bombers. He has actually made it quite clear he thinks violence in his cause is justified. He keeps forming these groups. What he threatened to do at Wootton Bassett was plainly not only designed to outrage everybody in this room, probably, but would have created a fantastic disturbance if he'd done it. And there's no point in messing about. I mean, you've decided this lot are very dangerous. We've banned them before. It is a problem. They'll pop up with another name. You ban them promptly again. And I agree with Kelvin that the other question that's worth asking is, does he need to go on some work experience and training and help to get himself into some gainful employment in this country? And I do wish the media would stop being so gullible and giving him a platform every time he does anything sensational.
Last point from you, and then we move on.
Islam4UK are obviously a disagreeable organisation, but I don't think you can stop disagreeable institutions straight away. I mean, pressure groups have always been a foundation of our democracy, and you can't... Who's it to judge which pressure groups are valid and which aren't?
OK. Let's go on. A question from David Binion, please.